Welcome to Hockeywiztalks podcast. Today I'll be talking about restricted free agents and arbitration. Before I talk about the unsigned RFAs, I must first update you on the key RFA signings made already. Sebastian Aho was re-signed by the Carolina Hurricanes to a 5-year deal worth $8.45 million per season. Timo Meier was re-signed by the San Jose Sharks to a 4-year deal worth $6 million per season. Issa Lindell was re-signed by the Dallas Stars to a 6-year deal worth $5.8 million per season. William Karlsson was re-signed by the Vegas Golden Knights to an 8-year deal worth $5.9 million per season. Cody Ceci was re-signed by the Toronto Maple Leafs to a 1-year deal worth $4.5 million. Alex Kerfoot was re-signed by the Toronto Maple Leafs to a 4-year deal worth $3.5 million per season. Andreas Janssen was re-signed by the Toronto Maple Leafs to a 4-year deal worth $3.4 million per season. Travis Sanheim was re-signed by the Philadelphia Flyers to a 2-year deal worth $3.25 million per season. Kasperi Kapanen was re-signed by the Toronto Maple Leafs to a 3-year deal worth $3.2 million per season. Nikita Zadorov was re-signed by the Colorado Avalanche to a 1-year deal worth $3.2 million. Danton Heinen was re-signed by the Boston Bruins to a 2-year deal worth $2.8 million per season. Alex Iafallo was re-signed by the LA Kings to a 2-year deal worth $2.4 million per season. Cedric Paquette was re-signed by the Tampa Bay Lightning to a 2-year deal worth $1.65 million per season. Scott Harrington was re-signed by the Columbus Blue Jackets to a 3-year deal worth $1.6 million per season. Semgus Girgensons was re-signed by the Buffalo Sabres to a 1-year deal worth $1.6 million. Lawson Krause was re-signed by the Arizona Coyotes to a 3-year deal worth $1.5 million per season. Zach Sanford was re-signed by the St. Louis Blues to a 2-year deal worth $1.5 million per season. Josh Lievo was re-signed by the Vancouver Canucks to a 1-year deal worth $1.5 million. Kevin LeBanc was re-signed by the San Jose Sharks to a 1-year deal worth $1 million. Best available RFAs. Mikko Rantanen is one of the key players for the Colorado Avalanche, so I don't see him going anywhere else. The Avalanche would be smart to lock him up long-term right now because he will only get better. I expect Rantanen to get a long-term deal worth over $10 million annually. Mitch Marner is a core piece of the Toronto Maple Leafs. However, they don't have enough cap space to re-sign him. If a team comes in with an offer sheet worth more than $11 million per season, I don't think the Leafs can match it. Of course, if he is signed to an offer sheet worth more than $10 million annually, the Leafs will get 4 first-round picks as compensation. Patrik Laine wants to get paid like an elite goal scorer, but do the Jets view him as one? It is possible for Laine to sign a bridge deal with the Jets to prove himself after a down year. But there's also a possibility that he gets traded or gets an offer sheet from another team. The Columbus Blue Jackets just lost 3 of their top players in free agency, so I don't see the Blue Jackets letting Zach Werenski go anywhere. Werenski has already proven to be a top pair defenseman in the NHL, so he will get paid. I expect Werenski to get a long-term deal worth over $7 million per season. Ivan Provorov is the #1 defenseman for the Philadelphia Flyers, so without a doubt he will get re-signed. Provorov is already a great two-way defenseman and will only get better offensively. I expect Provorov to get a long-term deal worth over $7 million per season. Charlie McAvoy is going to be the #1 defenseman for the Boston Bruins moving forward. Starting last season, McAvoy started to develop into a defenseman you can build around. I expect McAvoy to get a long-term deal worth over $6 million per season. Brock Boeser is a great young scorer for the Vancouver Canucks. He had an up and down year last season, but he has a really bright future. I expect Brock Boeser to get a long-term deal worth over $6 million per season. The stats that Kyle Connor put up last season were somewhat misleading. Even though he ended up with 82 points, the majority of his points came playing with Blake Wheeler and Mark Scheifele. Connor has yet to prove that he can thrive apart from Wheeler and Scheifele, so I would be cautious with this contract. I think Kyle Connor is worth between $5 and $6 million per season on a long-term deal. Matthew Tkachuk is turning into one of the best power forwards and agitators in the game. He had already shown flashes of being a good goal scorer, but this past season, he really came into his own in terms of being a goal scorer. I expect Matthew Tkachuk to get a long-term deal worth over $6 million per season. And now a word from our sponsor. And we're back on Hockeywiztalks podcast. Now I'll be talking about arbitration hearings. The Buffalo Sabres have 3 arbitration hearings. The first is on July 23rd for Evan Rodriguez. The second is on August 2nd for Linus Ullmark. And the third is on August 4th for Jake McCabe. The Calgary Flames have an arbitration hearing with Sam Bennett on July 27th. The Carolina Hurricanes have an arbitration hearing with Brock McGinn on July 20th. The Colorado Avalanche have an arbitration hearing with JT Comfort on July 31st. The Dallas Stars have an arbitration hearing with Jason Dickinson on July 20th. The Montreal Canadiens have 3 arbitration hearings. The first arbitration hearing is with Joel Armia on July 20th. The second arbitration hearing is with Charles Soudan on August 2nd. The third arbitration hearing is with Arturi Lehkonen on August 3rd. The Nashville Predators have 2 arbitration hearings. The first arbitration hearing is with Colton Sissons on July 26th, and the second arbitration hearing is for Rocco Grimaldi on August 4th. The New Jersey Devils have 3 arbitration hearings. The first is with Connor Carrick on July 25th. The second is with Mirko Mueller on July 28th. And the third is with Will Butcher on August 2nd. The New York Rangers have 2 arbitration hearings. The first is with Jacob Trouba on July 25th, and the second is with Pavel Buchnevich on July 29th. The Philadelphia Flyers have an arbitration hearing with Scott Laughton on July 30th. The Pittsburgh Penguins have an arbitration hearing with Zach Aston-Reese on July 22nd. The St. Louis Blues have 3 arbitration hearings. The first is with Jordan Binnington on July 20th. The second is with Oscar Sundqvist on July 24th. And the third is with Joel Edmundson on August 4th. The Washington Capitals have 2 arbitration hearings. The first is with Christian Djoos on July 22nd, and the second is with Chandler Stevenson on August 1st. The Winnipeg Jets have 2 arbitration hearings. The first is with Andrew Copp on July 21st, and the second is with Nino Pionk on July 24th. In my next podcast, I'll be talking about breakout players and sleepers in fantasy football next year.